You're watching Knicks Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. Appreciate everybody for stopping by as we react to a podcast from Zach Lowe and Bobby Marks of ESPN, where they came up with trade ideas and trade destinations. 7 destinations for a potential Julius Randle trade. We're going to unpack that around the corner. But first, I want to open up the comment section to all of the diehard New York Knicks fans that are going to watch this video. Do you think the Knicks should trade Julius Randle? Sound off for me. Y for yes, M for no. We are about a month away from New York Knicks basketball being back, and I am very, very excited, especially with the way the New York Giants are playing. But today's show, 7 trade destinations that Zach Lowe and Bobby Marks of ESPN cooked up. Before we dive into those, let's set the table a little bit. The biggest question right now surrounding the Knicks is, will the Knicks extend Julius Randle, or will Julius Randle sign a contract extension? After that, the next question is, will Julius Randle decline or accept his player option going into the summer? Randle has a player option following the conclusion of the 2024-2025 NBA season of $30.9 million. If he accepts it, he will be on the Knicks next season at almost $31 million. If he declines it, he will be an unrestricted free agent and be able to sign with any team in NBA free agency. If Julius Randle wants to continue his legacy and his tenure as a Knick, he can sign a contract extension of 4 years and $181 million, $45 million per year. That's if the New York Knicks have offered them this contract extension. This is the most that the Knicks can offer. If Julius Randle waits until he is a free agent, he could potentially sign a 5-year, $313 million deal with the Knicks. That's the most he could get. That'd be $62.6 million. Also, if Julius Randle signs this extension right now, he cannot be traded until after the trade deadline. Meaning, if Julius Randle wants us to stop talking about trade rumors, if Julius Randle wants to be a Knick throughout the regular season no matter what, he signs the extension. Because once you sign the extension, you can't be traded for 6 months. 6 months from now is after the 2025 NBA trade deadline. I have said this 1 million times. And whether you think I'm a Julius Randle hater, whether you think I am a Julius Randle truther, I want you to understand how I feel about this. If regular season Randle, if the 3-time All-Star, the 2-time All-NBA player, if 25, 10, and 5 on 45% from the field and 35% from 3, if that Julius Randle shows up in the playoffs for 16 wins, he does not get hurt, the New York Knicks will win the NBA championship. The New York Knicks are the best team in the NBA if you get 3-time All-Star and 2-time All-NBA Julius Randle show up in the playoffs. But the question is, can he do it? I'm not sure. I want him to be, because the best way for the Knicks to have the best roster and the best chance to win is for him to do so. But there's going to be a decision at Leon Rose's feet of, does he wait and believe, or does he try to make something happen before he runs into a situation that he feels might be inevitable? But let's dive into it. 7 trade destinations from ESPN. One of the ones they mentioned, the Dallas Mavericks. And this has felt like a team that has been linked to Julius Randle for quite some time. Whether it be because he's from Dallas or whatever it may be, but it always feels like the Knicks and Randle have been linked to the Mavericks. Well, what do the Knicks get back in a Julius Randle trade? I think it's important to note that Julius Randle makes about $28.5 million this upcoming season. Meaning if the Knicks want to trade Randle and they don't want to be hard capped at the first apron, they need to accept less money back in a trade. So how did the Knicks get $27, $28, $29 million in salary from the Mavericks? P.J. Washington and Daniel Gafford. That gets you close to $29 million. Should they make the move for P.J. Washington and Daniel Gafford? Let's talk about it. Who are you getting? In P.J. Washington, you're getting a guy that came over from Charlotte, added to Dallas, and immediately upon his arrival, Dallas became one of the better defensive teams in the NBA. He's a guy that's going to play hard. He knows his role. He knocks down the corner three at a high level. But overall, especially in the last couple of years, he has not shot the ball all that well from three. Daniel Gafford, on the other hand, you're getting a guy that's an elite rim protector, a guy that can go up and catch lobs like the best players in the NBA. He fortified and solidified that center position for the Dallas Mavericks. It was a great tandem of Gafford and Lively for Dallas. So you're potentially getting a guy that could start at power forward and a potential starting center. But I'm just not the biggest fan of P.J. Washington. I don't really love the fit of him on this team because it feels redundant in a way. Defensive wing, can shoot the three a little bit. Throughout his career, shoots 35%. But in the playoffs, we saw teams were daring P.J. Washington to shoot threes for the Dallas Mavericks. The Boston Celtics were leaving him open, saying, hey, if y'all want to beat us with P.J. Washington threes, go ahead. And I'm not sure I want to operate a team like that because I want everyone surrounding Jalen Brunson outside of the center position to be a threat, to be a catch-and-shoot guy. I think that's how you maximize Jalen Brunson's skill set. But he's 6'7", 230, and he's 26. He's potentially a starting 4 and a potential starting 5. That's who I think you'd get back in a trade with the Mavericks. They also mentioned the Los Angeles Lakers. And for a lot of these teams, they mentioned players that they thought that they could go out in a trade for Randle. For the Lakers, they didn't really mention any players. So I'm going to try to make an educated guess of who a trade could be. Remember, we got to get close to that $28 million mark. The Knicks have no interest in D'Angelo Russell. They have a point guard, they have a backup point guard, and they have a third-string point guard. I think Rui Hachimura would probably be the key ingredient in a trade if the Knicks were to trade Julius Randle to the Lakers. That's $17 million. Lakers aren't trading Austin Reeves. He's on a great contract, maybe the best value contract in the NBA outside of Jalen Brunson and anybody on the Knicks. I think it'd be either Gabe Vincent and Hachimura in a first or Vanderbilt and Hachimura. Lakers can't have a first to trade outside of 2029. And to be honest with you, I'm not interested in making a trade with the Lakers because I'm not trading Julius Randle for any of these players. The Atlanta Hawks were another team mentioned by Marks and Lowe. And this one I thought was pretty interesting. The two players that they mentioned that could go from Atlanta to the Knicks were Clint Capella and DeAndre Hunter. We had heard a couple of weeks ago that the New York Knicks had interest in Clint Capella. They need a center, whether it's a starting center, whether it's a center to complement Mitchell Robinson. With the way that center depth chart is shaken out, you need to add a center. And honestly, I think the best player you're getting in this deal is DeAndre Hunter. I think DeAndre Hunter is a really good basketball player, and you could potentially get a starting center and a starting power forward. Capella is what he is, which is a walking double-double. He's going to get you 10 points, he's going to get you 10 rebounds, and he's going to protect the rim at a pretty high level. DeAndre Hunter, he's going to score somewhere from 10 to 17 points. He's going to play good defense at 6'8", and he has proven to be a pretty dang good knockdown shooter in this league, shooting 38% from beyond the arc and efficient from three. Question of why are the Hawks looking to trade Hunter? They just drafted Zachary Rissache, number 1 overall, and they also are going to give Jalen Johnson a major contract extension. So there's not a lot of room for Hunter to continue to grow. I love DeAndre Hunter's game, and I think that he could be a really good fit for the Knicks because he's unselfish, he plays winning basketball, he could defend multiple positions, and he is a threat on the floor at all times to be a knockdown shooter. And he always kills the Knicks. So you're getting a starting center, you're getting Hunter for Randle. I don't love it. I also don't hate it. The next team that ESPN mentioned were the Portland Trail Blazers. And this one had multiple layers to it. They mentioned a couple of different players and a couple of different trade options for this. The one that intrigued me the most was DeAndre Ayton. And I know there's probably a lot of people that watch this channel and say, Marshall, you don't want DeAndre Ayton. And you know what? You're probably right. But if I'm going to take a chance on anyone, it's a 7-foot center at 26 years old. That was a former number 1 overall pick that is a walking 15-11 in his NBA career. Do I somewhat question the commitment and the love of basketball for Ayton? A little bit, but I don't know if that's exactly fair because I haven't been on a team with him. I'm not in the locker room with him, and I haven't talked to anybody that knows that within. But it seems like the stigma around him is he doesn't love basketball. He's not a winning player. Played pretty good in the finals for the Phoenix Suns. when they got there against the Milwaukee Bucks, where they did lose. And I like the idea of having another offensive player on this team. A closing lineup of Ayton, OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, or DiVincenzo with Jalen Brunson. That's a pretty damn good closing five. And Ayton is a great mid-range player. And it just gives you another guy you could throw the ball to and run an offense through when Jalen Brunson is sitting down. So I don't hate the idea of a Julius Randle for DeAndre Ayton trade. Another player that the ESPN boys, put together was Robert Williams. It was Robert Williams, who makes about $13 million, and a couple of other salaries put together to make the deal happen. We did a full in-depth video on Robert Williams. I gave you my thoughts on him. We did an intense dive into his career. You can go check that out on the channel. I like Robert Williams, but I also don't love that he hasn't played more than 65 games at any point in time in his NBA career. I don't want to add another injury-prone player to this roster. I thought it was interesting, though, that another player that they mentioned was Jeremy Grant. I also thought it was interesting that Jeremy Grant showed up to the Roommate Brother podcast in New York in person. And Josh Hart says, that's my boy. And Jeremy Grant says, I am always going to support Josh Hart. I think Grant's a good player. I don't think he's a great player. I think Randle is a much better player than him. But I do think there is a world where Jeremy Grant may be a little bit better of a fit on this team than Julius Randle. But I do think Randle is better than Grant. Something to keep your eye on. We've got more trade ideas and trade destinations from the ESPN guys. But first, I got to give a major shout out to today's sponsor, Game Time. And if you're looking to buy tickets for the Knicks this year, you want to go catch the Yankees, the Mets before the baseball season's over, or go watch your NFL team, get your last-minute tickets for the best prices and the lowest prices at the best seats, guaranteed, with Game Time. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use the promo code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, and you're going to get $20 off your first purchase where terms do apply. The app is super user-friendly, and the thing I love about Game Time is they're always looking out for their customers. Last-minute tickets and flash deals, views from the seats in the app, and the lowest price guarantee. And the features that they offer to their users that make it easy are awesome. The all-in pricing feature. No one likes getting hit with hidden fees when they get to check out after they buy tickets. The price you see is the price you pay with Game Time when you have the all-in pricing feature on. And the Game Time picks, you can customize the app with their new feature, the Game Time picks, so it only shows you tickets to your favorite teams, your favorite bands, your favorite artists, comedians, and so on and so forth. It makes it easy to go see and watch the favorite people you want to watch. Make sure you are hooked up with our proud sponsor, Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the promo code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS. What time is it? It's game time. $20 off your first purchase where terms do apply if you use that promo code CHATSPORTS. Another team that the ESPN guys mentioned as a trade destination for Julius Randle were the Chicago Bulls. And honestly, this one didn't make much sense to me. And I do want to also say in this video, Zach Lowe and Bobby Marks pretty much said, we don't love any of these trade ideas for the Knicks, and it might be the best case scenario where the Knicks keep Randle. And I'll share my thoughts on that. They mentioned Nikola Vucevic, and that's the obvious trade target and trade match if you're doing a deal. Vucevic makes north of $20 million. He doesn't fit their long-term plans, and it would give the Knicks a starting center. A starting center that is a very good offensive player, right? 23 points per game, 17, 18 points per game, giving you 10-plus boards, shooting almost 50% from the deck, and he's shown the ability in the past to knock down the three. He'd be a really good pick-and-pop player with Jalen Brunson. They could play five out with this team. But what also comes with Vucevic is underwhelming defense and a guy that's not going to give you much on the defensive end. And, let's just call it what it is. Tom Thibodeau is not going to be a fan of Nikola Vucevic. Tom Thibodeau was not a fan of Kemba Walker. Tom Thibodeau was not a fan of Evan Fournier. Tom Thibodeau is not a guy that's going to play you consistently if you don't affect the game on both ends. And throughout his career, Nikola Vucevic has shown that he is not someone that's going to be a positive guy on the defensive end. So for me, I'm not trading Julius Randle for Nikola Vucevic. The next team that they mentioned were the Washington Wizards. And this is a destination that we have talked about in the past. The two players that they mentioned coming back from Washington, that would be Knicks, with Randle going out, would be Kyle Kuzma and Jonas Valanciunas. Their salaries get you in a spot where you could make this trade. Do the Knicks need Kyle Kuzma? Do the Knicks need Kyle Kuzma? I don't know. I think Kyle Kuzma is a really skilled player. I think he's someone that can fill up the stat sheet. He can light up an arena on any single given night. Is he a winning player? Is he unselfish? Is he willing to do whatever it takes to win a basketball game? And how much does he give you on the defensive end? He's also not that efficient, 34% from three last year. I do like Jonas Valanciunas as a player and a good center tandem with Mitchell Robinson because he gives you a little bit of that yin and yang effect. Robinson, defense, rebounding, shot blocking. Jonas Valanciunas, offense, spacing, and can go to him on the block. But is it enough for me to give up Julius Randle? I'm not so sure. The last team that they mentioned were the Utah Jazz. And I'm always hesitant to do deals and talk about deals with the Utah Jazz because it's Danny Ainge, and Danny Ainge ain't doing the deal unless he's hitting you over the head with a 2x4. But I don't mind the package that they talked about. Walker Kessler and John Collins. You guys know I'm a huge fan of Walker Kessler. I think Kessler could become one of the best defensive players in the National Basketball Association under Tom Thibodeau. But do I want to pay $26.5 million for John Collins this year and $27.5 million for John Collins next year? I'm not so sure. Kessler's a good player. He's one of the best rim protectors. He's a good offensive rebounder. He's a good shot blocker, man. 2.4 blocks per game. Gets in the passing lanes. He could be an anchor to your defense. But what is John Collins? The Hawks were trying to give John Collins away for 3 years. And I'm not going to bite into the fact and buy that John Collins is back because of what he did for Utah. It's easy to put up good stats on a bad team. And he did that. 15 points, 9 rebounds, and he shot 37% from 3 last year. Look, I love Walker Kessler, but I am not trading Julius Randle for Walker Kessler and John Collins. I'm not. That's a 3-time All-Star. That's a 2-time All-NBA player. I'm not giving him up for Walker Kessler. I'm not. And to be honest with you, I don't really love any of those trades. You could say whatever you think about how I feel about Julius Randle, but I'm telling you, I'm not trading him for P.J. Washington, Daniel Gafford. I didn't like any of those Lakers trades. I didn't mind the Capella and DeAndre Hunter trade. But I don't really love any of these. I don't. And it's because I value the value of Julius Randle. I don't know. Maybe you could sway me in the comments. We went through 7 trades and 7 trade destinations today. And I want to hear from you. Which trade do you think, and keep in mind the people we talked about, would you want to go with? Number 1, the Mavs. Number 2, the Lakers. 3, Hawks. 4, Trailblazers. 5, Bulls. 6, Wizards. 7, Jazz. Or you could type none of the above. Because honestly, that's kind of what I lean to in this one. I am only trading Julius Randle for a player that is either A, just as good, or B, a player that fits the team better. If I had to choose one of those, I'd probably go with DeAndre Ayton. And I don't love that. I don't. Maybe the Knicks just got to roll with Randle. And that's not such a bad thing. Hopefully he stays healthy, and hopefully he gets it rocking and rolling once we get to the playoffs. Because like we've said for Daniel Jones for a year, it's now or never. It is now or never for Julius Randle. Make sure you are following me on social media. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram at @MarshallGreen_. The handle on both. Really would appreciate if you gave me a follow over there. And if you do, you're a real one.